You know, he always knew. Deep down, even when he tried to deny it, something was already pulsating inside him. A silent call, almost imperceptible, but impossible to stifle. He fought against it. He closed his eyes, covered his ears, veered off course. He did everything to escape what felt stronger than him. And still, his heart continued to beat towards something inevitable. Do you notice? The more he runs, the more destiny catches up with him. It's as if life itself is pushing him toward the very thing he fears feeling, and there's no way to control it. There's no way to put fences around something that comes from the essence. He insists on believing he can hide. That silence will erase what eats away at him. That time will heal when in fact, time only reveals. Each passing day, what was hidden becomes even more noticeable. And this awareness, even painful, is what begins to crack the walls of his resistance. He has already realized that fighting against what he feels is fighting against himself, and it wears him out. It consumes his energy, fragments his identity, tears at his soul. Because it's not about something external, it's internal. Its root, its origin, its truth. Have you been through that? Have you felt like you were trying to deny what was so real inside you? If so, comment below. I needed to hear this. The strangest thing is that he convinced himself that hiding would be easier. But with each attempt to escape, the emptiness grows. And the emptiness doesn't forgive. It corrodes slowly, as if to remind him that the lie never defeats the truth. There are nights when he can't sleep. Thoughts slice through him like blades. The mind replays scenes, voices, memories, and the resistance which seemed solid begins to crumble in the quiet of the night. That's when the silence screams the loudest. He asks himself, why can't I simply forget? And the answer arises silent, because it wasn't made to be forgotten, it was made to be felt. To feel requires courage. It demands acceptance that there's no longer a way to hide. The truth is that he is not just struggling with his feelings, he is fighting against his very destiny, and this is impossible to defeat. Destiny does not bend to fear. Destiny does not negotiate with escape. Destiny simply fulfills its mission, to reveal what already exists, even if it takes time. And the more he tries to delay it, the heavier the burden becomes. Because denial does not set him free. Denial traps him. Denial suffocates him, imprisoning him in a maze with no way out. Until, one day, he awakens with the clear feeling. There's no more running. This is the point he finds himself in now. His heart can no longer bear the imprisonment. His eyes can no longer pretend indifference. His body reacts, his soul cries out, his spirit insists, and he begins to understand that what once seemed like an enemy was, in fact, his greatest teacher. He realizes that feelings are not weakness. They are compasses. They are signs of something greater that cannot be erased. The struggle against them has always been at its core, a struggle against his own expansion. And when he recognizes this, something changes. Not entirely. There is still fear. There is still resistance. But the same power of denial no longer exists. It's as if a crack has opened in the wall. Light begins to seep in. And even as he tries to stop it, he can no longer help but see. This is the pain and at the same time the gift of perception, because once you perceive there's no going back. He tried to escape from himself, but life does not allow it. And this is the moment when the heart starts to beat louder than the mind. Do you realize? This is the point of no return. And when he reaches it, there will be no more hiding. He continues. Even when he thinks he has stopped, even when he pretends he has left it behind, within him there is a movement that does not cease. It's as if each step is marked by the silent memory of something that insists on calling. He tries to fill the time. He throws himself into tasks, fills the hours, chats, pretends to be distracted. But have you noticed? The emptiness doesn't quiet down with distractions. It merely hides for a few moments. Then it returns, more intense, as if it has been patiently waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And that's exactly what happens with it. Every escape is just an illusory pause. Deep down, the battle continues. And the hardest battle is not against the world, it's against the heart. He knows. You know. Deep down, everyone knows. There's no force strong enough to erase what has been rooted inside the soul. But even knowing, he insists on fighting. He convinces himself that he needs to be strong, that he needs to resist, that giving in would be weakness. What he doesn't understand is that this resistance is exactly what weakens him. It's what steals his sleep, takes away his peace, dims the sparkle in his eyes, and in the silence of the early morning, when there are no outside voices to distract him, he faces his own truth. The heart screams. Feelings surge with more force, and the question won't be silenced. Until when? He tries to deceive himself by saying that he can still wait, that it's not the time, that maybe it never will be. But this lie doesn't last long, because every fiber of his being has already realized there's no more running away. It's curious how life works. It doesn't let us escape what transforms us. It can delay, can push, can create endless detours, but in the end it always leads us back to the same point. The point where you can't run anymore. He is exactly there now. His body can no longer uphold the mask. His mind can no longer bear the justifications. And his heart beats so loudly that it becomes impossible to ignore. You know that feeling of carrying a weight that's not physical but is more exhausting than any effort? That's what he feels. A deep fatigue, not from living, but from resisting what has always been true. And in this weariness, he begins to see something new. Maybe it's not about fighting. Maybe it's about surrendering, not to weakness but to truth, not to fear but to love, not to control but to embrace destiny. He realizes that running away did not protect him. Running only distanced him from himself. And in that distancing, he lost clarity, lost peace, lost lightness. Now, standing before the mirror, he begins to recognize the shadow of his own resistance. It is painful, but it is also liberating. Because when he sees, when he truly perceives, something begins to unravel. The wall is no longer unshakable, the bars are no longer so firm, and a new possibility starts to emerge. Have you ever experienced that moment when you understand that what seemed like an enemy was in fact the path? If so, write here in the comments, "Yes, I have experienced this." He understands. Maybe not completely. There is still fear, still resistance, still unanswered questions. But now there is something stronger than all of that. Awareness. And awareness is the beginning of healing. Because what is seen can no longer be denied. What is revealed can no longer be hidden. And this revelation, no matter how painful, brings light. He now walks in this uncertain space. Between the old escape and the new surrender, between the old fear and the new call, it is a territory of transition, fragile and powerful at the same time. But it is in this territory that transformation happens. He will realize that life has always been guiding him, that every act of resistance was just a delay, never an annulment, that destiny does not fail, that truth cannot be erased, that the heart, no matter how muffled, always finds a way to scream. And perhaps this is the most important moment of the journey, to accept that there is no longer a way to run, to accept that feelings are not enemies, to accept that the pain of fleeing is much greater than the pain of surrender. He takes a deep breath. The silence weighs heavy. But in this silence, he is no longer the same, because within him something has opened up, and nothing will ever be able to close it again. He carries scars that no one can see. They are not etched in the body, but in the memory, in the invisible space where feelings have never been fully accepted. They are scars from battles fought against the heart itself. And maybe that's exactly why the weight becomes unbearable, because the struggle is internal, silent, invisible to those who pass by it. He smiles. He shows himself to be strong. He tells himself that he has overcome, that he is in control. But have you ever noticed how the eyes never lie? There's something hidden behind the mask, a truth pulsating, waiting to be recognized. And with each passing day, that truth beats louder. He notices in the little things, in a gesture, in a sudden memory, in an apparently trivial detail that suddenly triggers an avalanche of emotions. It's as if life is constantly reminding him, there's no use in running away. He knows that fighting against feelings doesn't protect him. On the contrary, it weakens him. And yet he keeps trying, because admitting means exposing oneself, and exposing oneself means losing control. But does he really have control? What scares him the most is not feeling. It's realizing that what he feels makes him vulnerable. And vulnerability has always been seen by him as danger. That's why he built walls. That's why he chose to run away so many times. That's why he tried to convince himself that he was safe in the distance. But the walls don't hold forever, and the distance is never enough when the soul is already tied to what he tries to deny. Do you feel this? Have you ever lived that moment when you realize that running away hurts more than confronting? If so, comment here. Running away hurts too. Deep down, he has already realized that resistance is not protection. it's imprisonment. And trapped, he doesn't breathe. Trapped, he doesn't live. Trapped, he merely survives, without experiencing the intensity of what truly calls him. There are days when he wakes up feeling like he's in the wrong place. No matter where he is or what he does, his heart whispers that something is still missing, and that something is not small. It's the reason for the restlessness, the source of the emptiness, the call that echoes incessantly. He tries to distract himself. He creates routines, invents excuses, keeps busy with commitments. But even in the simplest tasks, the absence screams. Because it's not an absence of things, it's an absence of himself, of living what truly needs to be lived. He realizes, even if he doesn't want to admit it, that running away won't work. Because you can't escape feelings, you can't escape destiny, you can't escape who you are. At this point, the struggle becomes unbearable. Because the body craves rest, but the soul craves surrender. And when soul and body are in conflict, something has to give. He starts to realize that this rupture is inevitable. And maybe that's exactly what frightens him, knowing that sooner or later, he won't have a choice. He'll have to yield. He'll have to accept. He'll have to let go of the illusion of control. And this realization, although painful, is also liberating, because nothing is heavier than carrying invisible chains, and nothing is lighter than finally releasing what should never have been imprisoned. Have you ever felt that relief after years of resistance? Have you lived the moment when you realized that letting go was the only way? If so, drop a heart in the comments. He is at that threshold now. His heart has begun to open, even if shyly. The wall has cracked, even if he tries to seem intact. And within him, something has already started to bloom. It's subtle, but it's real. And once noticed, it cannot be erased. What's curious is that he doesn't understand how he managed to resist for so long. Looking back, he sees that fleeing only prolonged the pain, that every attempt at denial was like throwing stones at himself. And now, as he realizes this, the question that lingers is, why? Deep down, he already knows the answer. It was fear. Fear of feeling, fear of losing himself. But he also realizes that fear didn't prevent anything. It only delayed. It only kept him trapped in a space between what is and what could be. Now there is no turning back, and he knows it, because when the heart awakens, there's no way to put it back to sleep. When the soul calls, there's no way to silence it. And when destiny reveals itself, there's no escaping it. He will have to surrender, and deep down he is already surrendering. Little by little, step by step, but in an irreversible way. The heart is stronger than resistance. Sooner or later, he will realize that this struggle has always been just an illusion. Because feelings are not enemies. They are guides. They are signs of something greater. They are invitations to live what truly matters. And when he finally stops fighting, he will discover something that has always been there. Freedom is not in running away. It's in acceptance. He can no longer sustain the same armor. The words he used to protect himself have lost their power. The excuses he repeated no longer convince anyone, not others and not even himself. The body speaks. The heart reveals. The gaze exposes. And no matter how much he tries to cover it up, the truth always finds a way to emerge. There comes a moment when the struggle tires him so much that resistance ceases to be a choice. He is approaching that moment. The soul calls for surrender. And you know, when the soul asks, nothing can silence it. The silence he carries is not an absence of sound. It's an excess of swallowed words, repressed emotions, buried truths. But silence is not eternal. Sooner or later, it overflows. He begins to realize that it's not about winning or losing. It's not a war. It's acceptance. It's embracing. It's allowing what has always existed to finally breathe. And in this realization, he discovers something new. The feelings that scared him are, in fact, bridges. Bridges into himself. Bridges to the truth he tried to deny. And the more he crosses these bridges, the more he sees that there is no enemy. There is only fear. And fear has never been his essence. Have you realized this too? Have you understood that fear only has the power you give it? If so, comment. Now I see. He takes a deep breath. There are no ready-made answers. There are no guarantees. But there is something greater than fear. The certainty that you can't run away anymore. This is where he finds himself. Between the old habit of escaping and the new courage to feel. Between the pain of imprisonment and the lightness of surrender. Between who he was and who he no longer can stop being. And in this in-between space, transformation is born, because when he realizes that running doesn't protect him, but destroys him, the choice is no longer the same. The heart opens up just a crack, and through that crack an entire life can enter. This conversation doesn't end here. In the next video, I'll take you even deeper. Come with me.